Oh, joy of joys, what's all this then? Another TARDIS build? Surely not. I haven't done one of those for, at least 5 minutes. Well, with this being my last TARDIS-related build for the time being, in the name of variety of course, it's rather handy that this is a garage kit that's been supplied to me, so most of the hard work is already done. All I have to do is put it together. And what could be simpler than that? So here we are, we have a kit that's been given to me by a client. He purchased this from I don't know where, and he can't make head nor tail of it, and he's asked me to do it. Now, as you can possibly see, this is laser cut from MDF. It's very thin MDF, and as a result, unfortunately, there's been a few breakages along the way. I don't know whether that was from the postage when it went to the client, or whether it came like that, I don't know. So those are a few things that I've got to attend to. It's not a huge issue. There's a couple of breaks elsewhere, but nothing too drastic. If you come into possession of one of these kits, one thing you have got to bear in mind is, with this, if you were to assemble it, you won't get a full TARDIS, because there are a few pieces that are missing that you've got to supply on your own. Now, the sort of things that you have to supply are the quadrant beadings that go up and down the corner posts, you know, the quarter round pieces. They don't come with that. They don't come with any window panes or any window glass. It's just the frames down there, and that's it. There's no detail for the door, so there's no lock or handle. You've got to build that yourself. On this particular one, we didn't have a pull to open sign. We had the graphic, but not the actual panel, so I've got to build something up there. We've also got down here for the roof section just the lamp base and the lamp top. There's no domed piece, lens, or the 4 struts to support it, so again, I've got to come up with something for that. Again, it's not too drastic. I can do that quite easily. When it comes to the bolts, they go in the sidewalls here. Nothing supplied for that, just holes, so I've got to fill that with something. But again, I've built loads of these TARDISes before. I pretty much know what I'm doing with it. I mean, it's just as well because this comes with no instructions, so I've got to pretty much guess as to how it goes together. But I think at the end of the day, this is going to be a relatively, if not pretty decent looking kit. You know, it's not bad. I'm suitably impressed for what it is. I mean, if I was to do this kit, I wouldn't make it out of MDF, that's for sure, and I wouldn't have things stacked like this, because this is the base here. I would actually have it as stripped going all the way around here as little drop downs, but you know, it's by the by. I'm going to modify this kit some way. Actually, the other thing about this particular kit is it comes with absolutely no way of hanging the door. So the door hangs on the back of this little section here, and you don't get hinges or anything along those lines. So yeah, that one is a bit of a quandary, but luckily I've had a look at this and I think I can work my way around it. So I think it's now time for me to just crack on and start assembling it. I think I'll start with the easy option first, and that's to back all the walls up. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is, as I just mentioned, is I'm going to put this backer on, and I'm going to do it for the doors and the walls as well. It's very straightforward. All I'm going to do is take a brush and dip it in some wood adhesive, which I'll plonk just here, and paint it on and clamp it together. So, well, start as you mean to go on. Don't want too much, just enough. There we go, that's way too much. So very carefully. Now make sure it's the back that I'm doing. Don't want too much glue on this, because A, I don't want it to squeeze out, and B, the more glue you put on, the longer it takes to dry. Oh, I put it up there and I didn't need to. Hang on, let's just take that off. There we go. Because I'm doing a door, not a wall. Now, I just want to put this in here so I know I'm lined up. Make sure I'm lined up all the way. There we go, that's looking good. Actually, just take my glue off of my 1, 2, 3 block. The 1, 2, 3 block was purely to get the alignment right. Now we're going to turn it over. And look at that, there's not that much squeeze out. So what I'll do is I'll just clean off my brush here. And as you can see, I've had too much glue there, but I will come back to that in a minute. And what I will do, as always, just go around. Again, just like last time when I built the other one that was very similar to this, I don't have to worry too much about the squeeze out because it will be getting some texture. But I do want to make sure that there's nothing too egregious in here, so can't hurt just to go around and make sure it's a bit clean and tidy. And there we are, and I'll just do the rest like that. Right, I'm just about to put in the first set of windows here. As you can probably see, I don't know if you can, I've made some pencil marks. This is where the windows line up to. Now, unfortunately, I've got next to bugger all gluing space here or down here. Got a little bit to the sides, and obviously all of that, so hopefully that'll be enough. So I just want to glue that into place just there. Gosh. It's almost making me wonder if there's any point putting any glue up here at all. No, I do it just to be safe. I can always move this stuff around, squish it in. Okay, token gesture. No, I don't think there's an up or a down to this. So I'll put that there. Bring it down a little bit. I'll swap it around. Now there are some lines in this. Some engraved lines that I'm trying to line. Bloody hell, there's next to nothing up there. I can actually see daylight underneath this. Oh, hopefully that's what the texturing will cover. Okay, like that it is. With the walls and the door now backed, you'd think that I could start to assemble the main carcass and just get on with it. But not so fast, my eager little fellows. Hold on to those mini horses of yours, because I'm not quite ready for that just yet. You see, because I want to hang the door with this type of hinge that I recently got from eBay, rather than the usual brass rod that I tend to favour, to do that I have to mount it to both the back of the frame and the back of the door. But with it assembled, it'd be pretty much impossible for me to even reach it, so this has to be done while it's still in pieces, just like this. And that brings me on to the first proper problem with this kit. The provided door, as you can plainly see, is far too wide to fit the aperture here. This is more than likely because it's from an entirely different version of the kit, so obviously I'm going to need to trim it down to size. But that only leads me on to the next problem. When I lay these parts flat, you'll probably notice that this door is actually thicker than the surrounding frame, which means when I come to put the hinges on, they won't be able to lay flat. So if I then try to open the door, it's more than likely it's going to shear completely off. So what I have to do here is bulk out the frame. I'll just flip it over so you can see. So there's the door, there's the frame, and if I squish them down to the board, you can hear it. So what I need to do is put a shim in there, and that's where this piece of plastic comes in. So what I'll do is I'll stick that plastic to this backing board, this frame, so that brings that area up to alignment with that, and then the hinge can sit nice and flat, like so. And that is exactly what I'm going to be doing next, so wish me luck. I'm at a stage now where I'm ready to put on these detail parts. They are laid out neatly, they're organised into their various parts, and they're ready and waiting to go onto the main carcass of the box, which I've already got here. As you can see, it's all completely together and the door has been hinged. I've also skipped ahead very slightly and put on a little door lock there. You'll see what's special about that a bit later on. Now, I did foresee this. I knew there's going to be a little bit of a problem with this. It's not a huge problem, it's just a slight issue. And as I said, I did mention it right at the very beginning of the video, but it concerns the front and rear fascias. As you can see, it's very slightly too tall, so that means I've got to chop off the bottom. Now this is, as I said, this is the same for the rear as well, but it also applies to the detail pieces here that fit onto here. So that goes on like that, and then that goes on like that. Now, there is a further problem. It's that this material here is too thin. Now, I'm not talking about the width, I'm talking about the thickness of that. It's ever so slightly too thin. Now, that has a bit of a knock-on effect, and this is what's kind of caused me to stop for the last, I think it's 10 days. I have some quadrant beading here. Now, this is of the correct size for the scale, which is 1 to 13. Now, when I put it up here, like so, you possibly can see they're the same size. So that means our quadrant beading will no longer be a quadrant beading. It'll be a round over, which obviously we can't do. Now, the only thing I can do to circumvent this, and this is what I mentioned right at the start of the video, it would be to completely replace all this material in plastic, so the front version and the back version. However, there's a problem in that. Because of the geometry of the box, if I change the thickness on the front, it changes the relationship of all the other planes. So that would then mean I'd have to chop this whole part to pieces, cutting out the corners, reshaping the side walls and the front and back, and then that would then have a knock-on effect to itself. I would then have to rebuild out certain details here, certain details there. I would certainly have to rebuild the roof and quite possibly the base as well. Unfortunately, that's just not a no-go because the budget for this is quite tight, and I've spoken to the client and he's sort of with me on this. So the only alternative is to go back on what I said at the very beginning and modify it to the way I wanted to, and it's to have a slight compromise. So as I said, instead of having this size, I am going to go for a slightly smaller size. It's just one step down. But that should circumvent all the problems. I mean, it's not going to be too noticeable. It'll be pretty damn decent, to be honest, but I'm not worried about it. The other issue that I do have, and again it's down to thicknesses of material, it's these. Once they're on here, just to give you a quick demonstration, they sit pretty much like that. Obviously there's going to be other details underneath it. But if I turn it, that is how far it sticks out. That is half the size it should be, and that does bug me, and I am going to reclad that. And what I'm going to do, just take a piece of wood here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it onto this material, and that will bring the thickness out, and then I'll trim it all out, and then that'll be the right thickness, and I'll stick that on. So that's something I will be doing, but in terms of the build, I've pretty much said everything I need to say about this build. You know, if you want to see how I build TARDISes in general, go and have a look at some of the other videos I've done. I've said everything I need to there. So, for the purposes of this video, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go off and trim all this sort of stuff off camera, and then you can see me in time-lapse building this completely and finishing it all off. So the next time we speak, probably, will be at the very end when this is done, and I can give you my thoughts on this model kit and the build in general. So okay then, let me get my saw out and I'll start on the cutting, and then we'll go on with the flash build. See you in a minute. absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. What? Oh, fuck! Ugh. Oh, bloody customers, he could have asked me to do this before I bloody glued it all together. I mean, what is it really? Do they not know what they want? It's always the same with it. Can I have this? Can I have that? Oh, I don't know what I want. Okay, second time lucky. Hopefully this time I have finished. I did receive a text yesterday, I think it was, from the client asking me if it was too late to paint the lamp black. Now, I had glued it together and painted it already, and there was no really way that I could get to it, but I said it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but like a nice guy, I capitulated and said, yep, of course I'll do it. And so there it is. It's now black as opposed to blue. He'd seen some pictures and just thought, yeah, he prefers that. Overall, I'm happy with the end result. I think it looks pretty good. I always like the glass in the windows. In this particular instance, I've used PTG, and it's slightly straw-coloured, just like the original Cobex. I've weathered all the graphics, especially around here. I've done the overpainting on the outskirts of this pull to open sign. Added various details on it, like the bolts and the hinges on both sides of the roof. Obviously I built a handle, put a lock in there. I'll come back to this in a minute. What else was there? Oh yeah, I had to modify this little bit here because on the original kit this was hollow and you could see right down the back of it, so I had to build that out. Again, down to thicknesses of material, I did have to modify the steps on this side and the opposing side, purely because when I put the three steps together, the middle step and the top step were exactly the same thickness, so it kind of looked like there was only two steps, a weedy little one and a massive top one. But, you know, it's by the by. I also, because of depths, couldn't add in the little lip that goes around the graphics here. There's just not enough room for it, so I had to leave that off. This kit has the potential to be a fantastic kit. However, if the guy was to supply things like the windows, the lamp, the quadrant beadings, all the little details that make this thing up, then it really, truly would be an amazing kit. But as it is, as it stands, I think it's an extraordinary kit. You know, very, very good, despite the problems we had with it. I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about that. Oh yeah, one thing I can tell you, the last thing I can tell you, is the door. I do rather like the door. I've been meaning to put actual hinges on my models for years, but just never got around to it for some reason. But, speaking of the door, there is one slight issue. Because the door is made of MDF and the handle is made of plastic, that's two dissimilar materials and they don't bond in the way I usually like to have these things bonded. Now, there is every chance that if you go to grab that handle and pull the door shut, you could accidentally snap this thing off. So what I came up with was this. Just grab it by the lock and it's shut. There's a little magnet there in place of the lock. I thought that was a nifty little idea. I thought it was quite clever. And I'm rather pleased with that. You know, it's always the small things that entertain me. But there we are, that's the kit. That's it done. I'm pleased. I hope the customer's going to be very pleased when he receives it. I've got to send it off to him now. So I think we can call that quits now. Very nice model, very nice kit, and that's it. So anyway, that is going to be the last TARDIS related build for a while, just in the sense of variety. I can't keep on building TARDISes, I'm running out of things to say. So I would like to do other things, you know, some more props, some more non-Doctor Who things. But until such times, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Subscribing always helps, and if you can, why not share some of these videos? That's always helpful too. But anyway, that's it for now. So until next time, stay well, be happy, and I'll speak to you again soon.